In Midgard lived the men descended from Ask and Embla, the first human couple created by the gods. Humanity lived under the protection of the gods, who always shielded the species against the forces of chaos. Thor, the exterminator of giants, prevented the land of men from being conquered by Mjolnir. With the protection of the gods, humanity prospered, always paying the sacrifices to the gods. These men were used to dealing with the harshness of winter, always preparing themselves to face all the difficulties that a long and icy winter could impose. But even men knew that the region of the gods would not last forever, and that the divinities of Asgard would have to struggle to face the forces of evil during the ragnarok. In Midgard, the summer was coming to an end. Everything indicated that men would have a huge harvest ahead. But a cold wind began to blow, and the totally unexpected frosts destroyed much of the crop. The leaves of the trees quickly took on the colors of autumn and began to fall much earlier than expected, a sign of the approach of a harsh winter. Even with the crops ruined, the men tried to prepare themselves in the best possible way to face the winter. But despite all humanity's determination, sufficient preparation for the coming nightmare was impossible. After all, Fimbulwinter had arrived, bringing a long winter with it. 3 winters would follow, without any summer between them. Men and their farm animals took refuge from the intense cold in their shelter, where they tried to survive in the freezing cold. The nights seemed longer and longer. Every night men feared that the sun would never rise again. Their food stocks ran out, and, forced by hunger, they had to eat all the chickens that gave them eggs, and even their pets. Those who risked facing the cold, looking for an animal to slaughter, became easy prey for the pack of Fenrir's children. The men started to fight among themselves for the few existing resources. Brother fought against brother. Children challenged fathers. Chaos settled among men. The hatchets of war were always drenched in blood. The lack of food forced many people into cannibalism. The few remaining human beings were quickly falling apart. In Asgard, the Aesir gods noticed the signs that the ultimate combat between the gods and the forces of chaos was approaching. This cataclysmic event would become known as Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. After 3 practically uninterrupted winters, chaos reached the kingdom of men. Few survived the bloody anarchy that followed. The conditions prophesied for the beginning of Ragnarok materialized. 2 wolves, who claimed to be Fenrir's children, crossed the skies, chasing the sun and the moon. The wolf Hati was chasing the moon, while Skull was chasing the sun. The deities that personified the 2 stars managed for a long time to escape the wolves, but they couldn't escape Fenrir's offspring forever. The wolves finally reached their prey and swallowed them. Without sun and moon, the world plunged into darkness. The end was near. Great earthquakes shook Yggdrasil, the tree of the world. Cracks opened in the ground, and mountains collapsed. The rock where the powerful wolf Fenrir was washed away. The giant wolf was finally free, thirsting for revenge. Jormungandr, the snake of the world, moved in the waters, causing huge waves. These tsunamis devastated the few coastal cities that still resisted. The colossal serpent unleashed its terrible poison by contaminating the waters. From the smallest living beings like the plankton to the largest whales, all died intoxicated by the terrible serpent. Loki, who was imprisoned and subjected to terrible torment, was freed from his bonds. Like his son Fenrir, Loki had only one wish in his heart: to destroy the gods of Asgard. The god of lies descended to Helheim, the kingdom where the souls of those who died an unworthy death would go. There, Hel was sovereign. The queen of the world of the dead handed over the command of an army of the undead to her father. This army was composed of the corpses of those who died a shameful death. These Nordic zombies were eager to achieve the glory they did not achieve while they were alive. Nidolgr, the dragon who gnawed at the roots of the Tree of the World, dug a huge tunnel through which the armies of the dead would march to the land of men. Great flames of fire signaled that the army of Muspelheim was on the march. The giants of the Flaming Lands were led by Surtur the Black. The huge giant burned everything that was in his way, using his flaming sword. The ice giants of Jotunheimer embarked on ships towards Vigrid, the chosen place to be the battlefield between gods and forces of chaos. Heimdall, the herald of the gods, had no more doubts. Ragnarok had begun. The god finally blew the horn Jallarhorn, and its sound was heard throughout the universe. Everyone was afraid of this alert. The end of the age of the Aesir gods was approaching. The great battle would begin.